Okay, so we are continuing on. We just finished learning about Booleans and if statements, and now we're coming into else statements. An else statement follows an if statement and contains code that is called when the if statement evaluates to false. As with if statements, the code inside the block should be indented. So as an example, x equals 4, if x equals 5, print yes, else print no. Okay, so that's kind of nice. So what we're doing here with else statements then is we are giving an option for the program to run if this initial if statement is false. So since x does not equal 5, this one doesn't happen, but it comes down to the else statement and runs this line of code. So that pretty self-explanatory, very useful. Let's go on. What is the result of this code? If 1 plus 1 equals 2, nested inside that, if 2 times 2 equals 8, print if, else, print else. Okay, so 1 plus 1 does equal 2, so this one comes out to true. So we're able to continue on to the nested if statement, the second one in here. If 2 times 2 equals 8, this is going to be false. 2 times 2 equals 4. It does not equal 8. So this if statement comes out to false. So normally, without an else statement, we would just stop here. But since we do have an else statement lined up, the indentation is the same. So this else statement is linked to this if statement. So since this if statement came out as false, we come here, and this is the line of code that's being executed. So this is going to be printing else. Okay. You can chain if and else statements to determine which option in a series of possibilities is true. For example, num equals 7. If num equals 5, print number is 5. Else, if num equals 11, print number is 11. Else, if num equals 7, print number is 7, else print number isn't 5, 11, or 7. Okay, so this is just a way, I guess, to chain all of these together. Now, okay, so I think it's important to look at how each of these statements is indented. So this is the main if statement. It comes out as false because num does not equal 5, so then it comes down here to this else statement. This else and this if are indented at the same place, or in this case they have no indentation. So these are the corresponding if and else statements. Now inside this else statement we have a few nested if and else statements. So inside this else statement we have if num equals 11, print this. Now, num does not equal 11 because num is 7. So this if statement is going to evaluate to false, and we're going to move on. But if we look here, this else statement is indented at the same place as the if statement. So this else statement and this if statement correspond. Since this if statement evaluated to false, then this else statement is going to run. So we come to this else statement, and inside of this else statement, we have another nested if and else statement. So inside this second else statement, we have if num equals 7, print number is 7. Now this one evaluates to true. Because num does equal 7, then this is the line that's going to be executed. And this one is just kind of ignored because we already reach our true here. So that's why this output is number is 7. So hopefully that makes sense. I think you need to make sure you pay attention to the indentations so that you can see which if and else statements correspond. Okay, fill in the blanks to compare the variables and output the corresponding text. X equals 10, Y equals 20. If X is greater than Y, colon, print if statement, else, colon, print else statement. Okay, simple enough. ELIF statements. The ELIF, short for else-if statement, is a shortcut to use when chaining if and else statements. A series of if-ELIF statements can have a final else block, which is called if none of the if or ELIF expressions is true. For example, num equals 7, if num equals 5, print number is 5. Elif num equals 11, print number is 11. Elif num equals 7, print number is 7. Else print number isn't 5, 11, or 7. So this is good to know. So this example is actually the same as the last example we looked at, which had all of the different nested statements and different indentations. That was a little complicated, so I guess this is a way to make that exact same example less complicated. Instead of having a bunch of different nested if and else statements, you just use this expression, elif. So if num equals 5, that evaluates to false in this example because num does not equal 5. Now, instead of going straight to an else statement, it goes to elif, which again stands for else if. So else, if num equals 11, print number is 11. That also comes out to false in this example because num does not equal 11. And then it moves on to the next elif statement. Elif num equals 7, print number is 7. And that one comes out to true because num does equal 7. So this is the line of code that's being executed. Now, if we try it ourselves, and let's change num so that num equals, let's just say, 15. If we run this, then we see that this is the line that's being executed. And I think this is probably something important to catch. It looks like there's a final else statement. So we have the if statement, we have two elif statements, and these are checking to see specific comparisons. So if num equals 5, elif num equals 11, elif num equals 7. But what about all the other numbers? That's where this final else statement comes in. So if num doesn't match any of the if or elif statements, then it just simply executes this line of code. It's kind of like this safety net. And that's why this one is called number isn't 5, 11, or 7. So let's say, to show kind of what that does, elif num equals 23, print number is 23. And again, that's not going to change anything because our num does not equal 23. But, and let's just copy this here, if we were to add an additional elif statement that says elif num equals 15, which is our num, then, let's change that to 15. Then when we run this program, that's the line that's being executed because our elif did match the comparison. So hopefully that makes sense. You have all these, the if and elifs are doing specific comparisons, and the final else statement is a safety net in case it doesn't match any of these. Okay. In other programming languages, equivalents to the elif statement have varying names, including else if, or else if. Okay, so I guess in different programming languages, the same idea exists, it's just different syntax. A shorter option for an else if statement is elif. Okay, and with that, we're going to finish up for the day. We were able to learn today about Booleans and comparisons, if statements, and else statements. Tomorrow, we're going to go ahead and jump into Boolean logic.